Hi, everyone. We are going to wait a couple more minutes before we get started here so others can join us. Okay, hi and welcome everyone. We are so glad such a big group was able to join us today. My name is Haley Lamb and I am the Manager of Community Foundations at Kimbia. Today we are hosting our first webinar in what's going to be a monthly series from now until next May 2014 when Give Local America is scheduled to take place. Each month will focus on a specific topic related to giving days and how community foundations host giving days. Those topics are listed now on our website that you can check out ahead of time. That's givelocalamerica.org. But before diving into topic-specific webinars, we wanted you to have the opportunity to hear firsthand from a few community foundations who have led giving events in their community. So I'm very excited today to introduce our three panelists who will be talking you through their giving events. We have Susie from the Community Foundation of Sarasota County in Florida. Tracy is the Vice President of Community Communications and Donor Cultivation in Pennsylvania at the Lancaster Community Foundation. And Carol is the Director of Marketing and Communications at the Communities Foundation of Texas. Real quick before I hand it over to them, a couple logistical things. Because we have so many people on the webinar, you are all muted right now. And I'm going to keep it that way throughout the webinar. So over on the right-hand side of your screen, you should see a chat window where you can ask questions. Feel free to type in any questions there, and I'll be sure to share those with our panelists so we can get all your questions answered. We are recording this webinar, so once completed, I will get it uploaded to the website for you to use as a reference, or if any of your staff are unable to join us and want to watch it at a later date. Before I do hand it over to Susie to start us off, I wanted to share this chart here where you will see an overview of some of specifics around the community foundations and the giving events that you'll be hearing about today. You'll see that we have a range of not only asset size and who you'll be hearing from, but also the length of the events, the number of participating nonprofits, and the amount of matching dollars available. So you'll be hearing specifics about each event, but I did want to share this because we do get these questions frequently about some of this specific data. So with that, Susie, I will give you control and you can start sharing about the 36-hour giving challenge.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me on the webinar. We're Looking forward to sharing a little bit about our story here in Sarasota. This was the second year we did a 36-hour giving challenge in our community, and in 36 hours we received over 17,600 gifts. So it was a really exciting event for us. About 45% of the gifts that were received were $25, and about 70% of all of the gifts were $50 or less. So a big part of this event in our community was trying to showcase that everyone could be a philanthropist. That was a big theme for us. And within our community foundation, we're very anxious to start involving younger folks and folks that may not have the capacity to give in terms of big dollars. So this event was really important for doing that for us. In addition to that, about 84% of the nonprofits that participated, that completed the follow-up survey, indicated that they received gifts from new donors. So it was new money for them that was coming through the Giving Challenge, which really exemplifies what kind of positive effect this can have on your community from nonprofits that are really looking for new donors and to engage others that may not currently be in the fold of giving at their organizations. In our community, we actually had different partners that worked with us. So we're the Community Foundation of Sarasota County. We spearheaded the effort in partnership with the Patterson Foundation, a large private foundation that's located in Sarasota, but does a lot of work nationally with all of their initiatives. So the Patterson Foundation, we were so fortunate to have them on board. They doubled all of the support that we received from other organizations. So our other sponsors were the Gulf Coast Community Foundation, another community foundation that operates in Florida, the Manatee Community Foundation, which is a supporting organization of our foundation, and the Charlotte Community Foundation. So we really thought this event was special with the support of so many different supporters. The Patterson Foundation contributed a total of $430,000, and then the rest of us contributed $215,000 that were used for special incentives. So throughout this campaign, it was really important for us to emphasize certain things with the participating organizations. And the first thing we emphasized is that you should really look at this opportunity as gravy. You shouldn't look at the Giving Challenge as a replacement for any of the traditional fundraising that you're doing in your community. And we found through our first year's experience that emphasizing this was important. Some organizations thought, well, you know, I'm just going to look at this for my total operating budget for the next fiscal year. And these are typically smaller organizations that thought it might be a windfall for them. And if organizations worked very hard on their strategy, in most cases they found that there was a good return. But some really expected a lot of money and they didn't plan accordingly. And then others, you know, crossed some things off of their fundraising plan that they should have kept in place. So we wanted to emphasize this is extra. These are extra dollars. We spend a lot of time talking about strategy with them. We really emphasize, look, if you want to be involved in the Giving Challenge and you want to have positive results, then you should set out with some goals for your organization. Look at a specific amount that you hope to raise. Set out to engage a certain percentage of your membership, raise money for a specific project, and then look at the strategy you need to reach that goal. So we talked a lot about goal setting with them. The whole cupcakes conversation was really interesting, and I'll talk about this again in a second, but we asked the organizations, especially when they were looking at all the incentives that we had lined up for the Giving Challenge, to imagine they walked into a bakery and saw all of these beautiful cupcakes laid out, chocolate, vanilla, all the sprinkles, and just choose one. You really can't take every cupcake. So instead of trying to go for all of the different prizes, choose your strategy, pick the incentive grants you'd like to go for, and really focus on those. We also emphasized looking at the Giving Challenge beyond the dollar. How can you use this opportunity to build your capacity around more donor engagement, experimenting with social media, involving ambassadors on social media, and really leveraging and developing your communication strategies? So we wanted the organizations to look at that instead of just how much money can we raise. And finally, we encouraged organizations to go out and talk to donors about doing their own matching for each organization based on what those organizations could raise online. So outside of the $2.78 million that we raised online through the Giving Challenge and with the support of the foundations, there was about $500,000 additional dollars that were raised outside of what you saw on that leaderboard. And when we did the follow-up survey, we found that about 36 organizations were able to get matching dollars from their own private donors, which really added to the impact of the overall event in the community. And it also gave donors a chance to support their favorite organizations in a much bigger way than just giving an online gift. So for the Giving Challenge dollars that we had available in Sarasota, there were really two kinds. There were one-to-one matching dollars up to $430,000, and those were for new gifts and increased gifts above last year's challenge. And we knew that that money would go very quickly. It actually went in 5 minutes and 37 seconds. So the second kind of Giving Challenge dollars that we planned for were the incentive grants, and that's what we're going to talk about most today. This was $215,000, and this was intended to last throughout the entire 36-hour period so that it would motivate folks to continue giving throughout the campaign. We're going to talk about a few samples of the incentive grants that we offered. Now, this is just a little bit of that $215,000, but I thought that these would be the most exciting examples to share with you because there were some strategies behind them. We offered a $5,000 grant that would be split between the two organizations that developed the best partnership during the challenge. So we left it very open this year. We wanted to see how organizations could find creative ways to work together to promote each other during the Giving Challenge or to share knowledge with each other and their constituents during the Giving Challenge. And we left it very open, not really having any idea how this might work out. Secondly, we had a $5,000 grant for the best nonprofit business partnership. And the first year of the Giving Challenge, we noticed that not that many businesses were involved, and they're such a critical component of our community, and wanted to find a way to engage them, especially engage them in a way that might make a meaningful long-term relationship for the nonprofit that they worked with, and mean more publicity and more excitement for all of them. So there were about 30 businesses that partnered with nonprofits this time. About 80% of the organization said that they definitely raised more money than they would have raised alone without partnering with their business. And 75% of them said they really strengthened the relationship with that business as a result of working with them on the challenge. And I forgot to share this, but about 20 nonprofits tried out that nonprofit partnership model. 90% of those said they had never worked together before the Giving Challenge, or they were working together in a whole new way, taking things to a whole new level. So that was really exciting. The third incentive grant I'm going to talk a little bit about is a grant for the best overall campaign, and that was another $5,000 grant. And then finally, we gave a $1,000 grant for the organization that had the best international engagement. One of the things that I want to share about these different incentives for the first three that are listed here, nonprofit partnership, the nonprofit business partnership, and the overall campaign, we had outside judges that judged these for us, so it was another way of bringing new people into the fold of the Giving Challenge. For the Nonprofit Partnership Award, we had a team of local governance consultants judge this award. It was really very exciting because they got involved and, wow, we never knew these organizations had worked together before, or is this a new partnership? They developed this whole exciting matrix of how to evaluate the partnership, which was kind of exciting. The Nonprofit Business Partnership, we actually had editors of local business publication evaluate that. So they got all kinds of good content for stories about how businesses have great corporate social responsibility programs, and they can use that for content throughout the year. And finally, the best overall campaign was judged by representatives from our Clear Channel radio station, Comcast Media, and also from our Herald Tribune Media Group. So it was a great way to get the media involved in those different competitions, and they had a lot of fun with it. So we raised almost $2.8 million in 36 hours, and you see some of the winners these little incentive grant competitions here. On the far left, you are looking at the team of Realize Bradenton. This is a small arts capacity building organization that's located in Bradenton, Florida, and they partnered up with the Manatee Players. And during this particular partnership, they created some really interesting videos called Players of the Lost Ark, where they dressed up in all these crazy outfits and they toured the new Manatee Players facility, encouraging people to give. They won for the best nonprofit partnership to raise money for the new facility for this theater. In the middle, you see the Arts and Cultural Alliance of Sarasota County. They partnered up with the Hub and won the Best Business Partnership. The Hub helped them produce a Harlem Shake video, which was hilarious. All of the different arts organizations participated, dressed up in costumes, did this crazy video together. And in order to watch the video, you had to enter your email address. So they collected email addresses that they could use throughout the duration of the campaign to let people know what the Arts and Cultural Alliance is doing in the community. So that was really exciting. And then on the far right is a picture of the wonderful folks over at Manatee Glens. They won the best overall campaign. And this campaign was called Stepping Up. It raised awareness about sexual assault and the organization's important role in awareness, prevention, and rape crisis programs. So their campaign elements included this fun run, videos, photos of community members and business partners that were wearing tennis shoes and special shoelaces that demonstrated their support. They shared statistics on sexual assault via social media, and they had a fully engaged board and staff. So they had a really fun campaign with all kinds of different elements and made it very exciting for the community, but also meaningful. So I want to go into just a couple of the unlikely partnerships that resulted from the Nonprofit Partnership Prize. This was a nonprofit dance troupe called Fusion, and in this case, they partnered up with a school called Newgate School. Both of them are nonprofits. Both of them were involved in the Giving Challenge. Fusion sent their dancers over to the school to teach the kids a dance. Dance is not something that's typically taught in the school, so the students were missing it. So the kids learned the dance. They went over to Lakewood Ranch, which is a very hip area in our community, on a Friday night, and they did this crazy flash mob together to promote the Giving Challenge. So that was a really, really fun nonprofit partnership. A second nonprofit partnership I wanted to share is a partnership that they called Stellascope. Our friends over at Scope, which is an organization promoting civic engagement in our community, has this hilarious and sweet little dachshund that's kind of the mascot of the office, and her name is Stella. And so they partnered up with Goodwill Manitoba, and their campaign was One Dog, Two Organizations, One Aligned Mission. And throughout the weeks leading up to the Giving Challenge and during the Giving Challenge itself, they went around to really cool locations in Sarasota, met with community leaders, and talked to them about the difference that both organizations were making in the community. So it was a lot of fun, and they made a lot of appearances during the Giving Challenge itself. So they were really more focused on raising awareness during the challenge, and they wanted to raise dollars as well, but awareness was the most important thing. And of course, they were also going for that $5,000 prize. So businesses in our community really, really stepped it up during the Giving Challenge and made it super, super fun. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner, that is a screenshot of the Harlem Shake video that all of the different arts organizations did that I talked about before briefly. And that was really a lot of fun, although a lot of us in the community now are sick of the song that goes with the Harlem Shake. If I never hear it again, I'll be happy. But it was really fun watching what different folks did. Up at the top left, you see Gilly the shark, and he has a little, he has a tag. And of course, if you scan that with your smartphone, that would take you to the donation page for Mote Marine and the Giving Challenge. But Gilly the shark is from Mote Marine Laboratory and Aquarium. It is an incredible facility we have in our community that does research on marine species around the world. And they partnered up with Whole Foods Market. And so here's Gilly the shark, who is shopping in Whole Foods Market. I believe that Whole Foods gave a percentage of what they made to Mote Marine, and they also helped promote Mote in the challenge. In the lower left, you see a picture of Rocky, who is the mascot for the University of South Florida Florida, Sarasota Manatee, and their foundation partnered up with Furniture Warehouse. And Rocky the Bull went and did the Harlem Shake at the Furniture Warehouse and a series of videos that led up to the challenge, and their campaign was called Click, Share, and Shop. And the Furniture Warehouse also gave a percentage of their proceeds to USF Sarasota Manatee Foundation. So it was really, really fun. The one thing that we would caution you about is making sure that if organizations are partnering with businesses, they do not actually offer the donor anything in exchange for their donation. That was really important, and we had to make that very clear to the organizations. But as you can see, we had grocery stores, we had creative firms, we had a furniture store, we had dry cleaners, law firms, banks, all kinds of businesses were partnering with organizations. And again, the organizations really feel that it increased their leverage points with those businesses for the future. Now, the creative campaign, the organizations that did the most creative campaigns, we found that combining social media, email, direct mail, video, special events, web presence, just the fact that we offered this particular incentive really helped our community get excited about the Giving Challenge. If you could see what some of these organizations did to prepare in the weeks and the months leading up to the challenge, it just got everyone in the community hyped about it. So at the bottom left, you see this crazy group of people with wigs on and instruments. This is Phil King and the Funky Philanthropists. And they run an organization where 17 human service nonprofits are located and receive some joint benefit from being co-located together. And they did Facebook concerts leading up to the challenge and during the challenge to keep people tuned into their Facebook page. On the lower right, you see that Mark Twain came back from the grave to talk about the importance of the Giving Challenge. This gentleman here was with the Charlotte Players, an arts and cultural organization that teamed up with the Charlotte County Imagination Library, and they were raising money for literacy for a program they work on together. So Mark Twain did a little video promoting the Giving Challenge and the importance of reading. And then at the top right, this is a postcard that Community Youth Development designed with their students. They wanted to envelop the Mario theme. So they did this whole amazing, cool video where they actually had students jumping into the video game. One of their board members owns a creative and design firm, so he helped them organize this whole campaign. And throughout the 36 hours of the challenge, their executive director went around town with her Mario mustache and took pictures with different folks in the community. They had pictures of people posing with her with this Mario mustache, community leaders, business people, people with the county government. Leading up to the challenge. So it made it really fun. And this was a campaign that the students designed themselves. So looking at what happened as a result of all this was really exciting. And one thing I'll just touch on briefly before I turn it on to the others, turn it over to the others. It was so fun to see what happened on the international front. We had 6 continents, people on 6 continents who gave, 42 countries and all 50 states. So the only continent where no giving originated was Antarctica. Cannot believe they didn't come through for us. The last state to give was Alaska, and it made it really fun for us from a social media perspective, because we put a call out on our Facebook page saying, you know, we have all states except for Alaska. Does anyone know someone there? And so immediately we saw everyone else's Facebook page exploding. People were making calls, sending emails, and at the end of the day, I think we have 4 or 5 people that are claiming responsibility for that final donation that came from Alaska. But that made it really, really fun. So, you know, the 36 hours, or in this case, the 24 hours is going to seem long. You will be absolutely exhausted, but it is so much fun. We had a blast, and I was just talking with an organization today who was saying they had severe withdrawals when the challenge was over, because they were no longer looking at the leaderboard, and that just made it so exciting and fun for everyone. So this is me on the left, and this is our director of marketing on the right after the challenge for what is obviously a posed shot, but it was a lot of great fun. So thank you for inviting me to participate, and now I'm going to turn it over to the next person.
Thanks, Susie.
Wow.
And Tracy, go ahead and take it away.
Great, thanks. Wow, I have to say, listening to Susie's description of it all, it makes me actually want to do this again, in spite of the exhaustion that she is correct actually comes at the end of a giving event. I'm trying to advance the slide, but I don't think my keyboard's enabled yet. So well, I'm actually coming at this from a different perspective. It's really exciting to hear from Susie because I know that this was their second annual event, and our first event was just last November. It was in November 2012, which was called The Extraordinary Give. So I'm coming at it from a little bit of a different perspective because the Extraordinary Give really started as a branding exercise for the Lancaster County Community Foundation. In our community, we serve just one county in Pennsylvania of about 500,000 people, and although our organization is almost 90 years old, for the most part, the majority of people in Lancaster County don't know who we are. And so the Extraordinary Give, a giving day, a match day, is something that we tossed around in our organization for a few years, 3 or 4 years. And then last year we actually did a rebranding, a brand expansion, and we said, this is the time. This is the time for us to utilize a giving day because it can be a meaningful promotion for us. It's something that can engage our community, it can engage our nonprofit, our community benefit sector, and it can be, the way we talk about it, as a handshake to our community. A handshake where we could say, we care about what you care about, and we want to partner together to work on giving and to really generate more extraordinary community in Lancaster County. So that was the initial incentive for us. So we were coming at it with two kind of fundamental challenges. One was a lot of people didn't even know who we were, the Community Foundation. And number two, certainly no one understood what a matching day was because an online giving day had never been executed in our community, probably like many of yours. So I'll echo a few things that Susie said. One of the things that we started with, and we had to start at the very beginning with a lot of education. Not only did we need to educate the broader community, but we needed to start with educating the nonprofit community and helping them understand what this was and what it could mean for them. So we did a lot of the things that Susie mentioned, which was great. And just like she mentioned gravy, we chose this name, The Extraordinary Give, partially because it reflects part of our branding, talking about extraordinary community, but also because we wanted organizations to know that this was an extra opportunity. And we talked to donors about making extra gifts so that people wouldn't forsake any of their traditional fundraising mechanisms to kind of go with this. Generally, the other things that we talked about overall was that the Extraordinary Give was we were, as a community foundation, bringing this to our community as a gift. We had some reserve funds that enabled us to deliver this, and we were able to create a match pool, which we considered a stretch pool, and we offered the platform provided by Kimbia, the digital platform, and then we kind of described an umbrella of promotion. We said, we've got a platform and we've got an umbrella of promotion, and we want your organization to plug in any way that makes sense for you. This is an overview screen, and essentially, what happened for us, I will tell you in all honesty that after about 6 months of education in our community of both nonprofits and the donor community, we were incredibly tense at midnight when we kicked off our 24-hour giving event. We went from midnight to midnight. And as we looked at our leaderboard at that midnight, we honestly thought, oh my goodness, will anybody give a nickel? And it was thrilling to see the leaderboard begin to tick, to tens and 20 and hundreds of thousands in a matter of minutes and hours. So that was a really exciting event. And we did, in fact, generate nearly $1.7 million in new resources for the 192 participating organizations in our community on that day. So I'm just going to go through a few highlights of some of the tactics and the learnings that we had as a first-time event. Certainly, again, I would echo many of the great things that's happened in Sarasota and with the Giving Challenge. That was a really fantastic event. One of the things that we learned is that this really generated a community conversation, is how we talked about it. Somebody blogged on this event for us, and his comment was that the opportunity of the online giving event brought what we typically think of as a solitary act of giving into a community celebration. And we've really latched onto that, and we like that concept because what it does is it really amplifies and magnifies the idea that we can come together as a community and make a different kind of impact than we can as each individual. And those are some of the ripple effects that, that we really talked about, that it not only brought the dollars in, but it brought people together in partnership ways, kind of like Susie described, and in ways that we might not have been able to imagine before we introduced the program. If I advance to the next slide, you can see, I think most organizations doing this embark in a range of media and promotion. A lot of it depends on budget, it depends on partnership. The way that we positioned it in our community, again, with this extra, we reached out to all of our traditional media partners, television, radio, newspaper, outdoor, and we did have some money to invest, and we said, we can invest X number of dollars, but we're asking you to give a little extra and to stretch, our investment in any way that you can stretch. We didn't believe that it was, going to work for us very effectively to simply ask for outright donations, but what we did get was a lot more for our money because we were able to make an investment and because we were already providing a $250,000 stretch pool that would be going directly to organizations. So we did have a significant amount of, branding of this extraordinary give. And a couple of the things that we really did find fun and effective, on the right-hand side, you can see the kind of gray, kind of long image, and that was kind of a template for our digital billboards. So we did work with Lamar Advertising in our community and created a digital countdown, which we had the 5 days leading up to the Extraordinary Give. So we had all of the digital billboards in our community counting down to the Extraordinary Give. And then on the day of the give itself, for the 24 hours, we were able to link with the Kimbia leaderboard and have the live feed running all day long, so that as people were around town, if they weren't right at their computer, they could still catch a glimpse of exactly what the number was as the donations continued to come in, which we figured out at the end of it all was about $1,000 a minute, which is pretty exciting, and it's very meaningful for people because they can really see the numbers ticking. So that was great. Another effective promotion for us on that day, we have an active public radio station, and they have a daily locally based talk show. And so it was really nice that they were able to join us at our Giving Lounge and actually, broadcast live from the Giving Lounge, which gave an opportunity for a range of people to talk about the Extraordinary Give, which was great because, again, many people didn't know the Community Foundation, and this was the first time our community was hearing about a Giving Day. So it was a fantastic chance to really promote that to a wide range of people and a really nice audience as well. And the next slide, we talk a little bit, we also did some video. I know Susie said that multiple people did some videos and video promotion, and we partnered with a local theater company and to create a video. So it was kind of a theatrical promotion, which was great fun. It was actually a lot of work. I am not convinced that we'll do it in the same way this year, but we did have a very, staged and dramatic and very kitschy sort of promotion. And one of the benefits that came from this, in addition to it being able to live on our website, on our Extraordinary Give website, and travel very easily with via social media, it also generated an interesting partnership with our largest local cinema. And so the cinema, again, it was a stretching situation. They had a partnership with the media production company, and we're quite happy to show this video clip at every single movie that aired in the entire month of November, which was the month of the Extraordinary Give. So it was really nice to have something very specific, professionally executed, that the cinema was willing to share and help promote as well. Unlike what we're hoping will change this year, now that businesses in the community know about this, it was a little bit of a challenge for us to begin to educate the business community about what this meant. So again, looking forward to a second year in, so that organizations, businesses, individuals all understand the range of what can happen when a community comes together for a distinct giving day. On the next slide, you know, the other things, we did get quite a bit of earned media, and I'm sure all the other organizations can echo that idea. We had a range of earned media, and one of the most powerful really came from our local newspaper. We still, amazingly, have a very active and highly followed local paper, and they, a few days following the Extraordinary Gift, did issue a beautiful editorial and an editorial challenge, in fact, to the community and the Community Foundation to come together and find a way to deliver this product again. So we felt that that was, you know, a very meaningful example of how the organizations had come together and how we were really able to make an impact in the community. It's really nice to have that external reinforcement about the value of a product that you can deliver that's empowering to your entire community. One of the things, and I think Carol is going to talk about this in a minute too on the next slide, we worked very closely with our nonprofit organizations. We started probably 4 months ahead of time offering educational and informational sessions for folks. We answered all of the many questions that Susie had referenced in terms of how do you think about this? Make a plan, set a goal. We really encourage people to think about things in a very specific, targeted, and extra fundraising sort of way. And this is just a small example of one of the things that we offered, which was a timeline to get people going. You know, to give them 3 months worth of how could they think about exactly what to do. And of course, we found that organizations, basically, depending upon the amount of effort that they and time that they chose to or were able to commit to the Extraordinary Give, had a fairly direct correlation with how much they were able to bring in on the day of the event. So it was really powerful for us to give people a timeline, to give them information. We spent a large majority of the time between September and November taking phone calls, answering questions, kind of holding hands with some of the organizations to help them feel confident and understand. So I don't want to diminish the time that it took us for the first year to really kind of educate and create a confidence level in the project. So this is one thing that we did. And on the next slide, we created also a digital toolkit, which essentially had the logo, had sample press releases, had sample language for newsletters, had a Facebook photo, had a range of digital elements that people then, you can see in some of these photos, you know, kind of repurposed in their own materials, for their own website, on their own postcard mailings, in their own newsletters. So what happened was, for the 3 or 4 weeks leading up to the event, our Extraordinary Give logo was everywhere across our community, as the 192 organizations really helped to push it out. So that was fun for us to see as things started flowing in here, because of course we hear from all of them. So I'll wrap up here in a minute. One of the last things that we did also on the next slide host a giving lounge, and I know that lots of organizations have done that. We kept it fairly low key the first year. It was important for us to promote the online elements of the online giving campaign. We didn't want any of that message to get muddled for our first time out of the gate, but we did feel that it was important to have a physical space, a space that the media could come to, something that would create a visual image for this online event. And so we too had a giving lounge, and we invited nonprofits who could offer us a short experience. So in the red, we had you know, we had a performing group, we had some opera singers, we had therapy dogs come in, and of course you can see on the bottom left we had giving kiosks, so people could in fact come there to make a gift online. And you can see the little girl in the middle. She has a photo, a little sign that says, "I gave extraordinary." So we had a photo booth. We had lots of grassroots. We had buttons and stickers that were traveling around the community during the day. And the very last slide that I have here is just a reminder that, of course, with all of these promotions and events that happen. That's really the key to generating the excitement in communities and during the day. But at the end of the day, it's an online campaign, and so the social media is essential. And the fact that we offered incentives to organizations to say, and when you give, tell your friends and share with your friends, and that ended up generating some even more unexpected things. There's a picture of this guy in yellow. His name is DJ Mike, and as a result of the Extraordinary Give, he got a special invitation to come to a radio station and do a morning broadcast as part of the Extraordinary Give to benefit the organization Extensia, which supports Mike in his daily living. So there were many unexpected events that happened simply because people started to learn about the Extraordinary Give and open up their mind to the opportunities and to the partnerships that could really benefit. So another unexpected thing, a few of us were driving in various parts of the town during the day or the week before, and we started to see local businesses with electronic reader boards saying things like, Extraordinary Give November 30th, or extragive.org, give now. And that was quite delightful, because those were organizations that had simply picked up on it of their own volition and began to promote it simply because it was a way to elevate giving in our community. So moving forward, that's what we'd really like to be able to focus on more now that our community understands what the Extraordinary Give is and what it can do for organizations here. It's a great opportunity to launch into even some additional things that Susie had mentioned that are really exciting. In general, I think having a plan, being very specific and focused on the core purpose of the event was essential for us, but certainly being open to anything that evolves and being willing to kind of take in different ideas and partnerships as they popped up was really one of the keys for us. So I think that's it for me. I'm looking to see if there are any more questions, but I think we're good. So I'm going to get ready to turn it over to Carol.
Thanks so much, Tracy.
Okay.
Carol, you should now have control, so let me know if you don't.
Okay, great. So I'm Carol Goliath. I'm here in Dallas from Communities Foundation of Texas, and we partner with Dallas Foundation and have a number of other funders for our North Texas Giving Day. Last year, it was on September 13th, 7 to midnight. We're doing it again this year on September 19th from 7 to midnight. And so here is a recap of our slides. I'm hitting the arrow, but it's not. You think, oh, there we go. Okay, oops, there we go. So here's a recap. This is actually our 5th year. And so we started in 2009 and raised $4 million, then went up to $5 million. Our goal actually in 2011 was $6 million for 2011, and we went to 10.7. And then last year was our first year using Kimbia, and it went to 14.4 million, which was really exciting. And you can see every year we have also increased our challenge funds and prize pool, but because so many more people participate and we raise so much money, more money each year, what we're calling a challenge premium, of course, has gone down, because the first year we similarly had a dollar for dollar match for part of the time, and then it went down to, but it was gone, in seconds. And so everyone unanimously said that they wanted every gift to be matched. But for every gift to be matched, that means you get less and less percentage. So you can see our donations last year were up to 37,800 donations, and we funded 927 nonprofits, which was very exciting. We will fund any approved nonprofit in our 16-county area, which is a broader service area than our Communities Foundation serves. But we partner with our local Center for Nonprofit Management, and that is their service area. And we have said that any eligible 501c3 can come in, which means that we do get a lot of schools and churches. And you can see from a dollar perspective, the schools were the highest. And for the number of donors. Of course, no one can mobilize a donor base like a school can. So if someone's starting from scratch, they might want to think about not including schools, or if you include schools, just know that they will be a lot of what you do. And then, of course, we have a large portion on social services and arts and culture, and really every area. We had prizes as well. We originally had prizes on who raised the most money in our first 4 years, or first 3 years, but we actually took that away because we figured if you raise the most money, that sort of is a prize in and of itself. So we took that away and just made it about the most contributions as a number of donations. So and divided it both by large nonprofits and small nonprofits. And similarly, for the increase versus the prior year, gave both large and small nonprofits. And then we had a few random prizes based on the year of foundings and the current year and that kind of thing. And then we had a new county participating, and so they were giving a prize for that. And I love some of the other prizes that were discussed, and so hopefully we will get to do some of those too next year. So general things to think about. I mentioned the schools comment, types of nonprofits to include or exclude, how much staff time you have to dedicate to this. Tracy mentioned this, but we calculated that last year we spent about 1,500 hours on our giving day, which was about $200,000 worth of staff time. So depending on how you do it, just realize that there will be a lot more that you're putting into this than you realize. And just staying true to your motivations overall. Especially looking at all these fun examples, it looks like a whole lot of fun, but it is also a whole lot of work. So reminding yourself why you are doing it. Which could be many, many reasons. And of course, structuring your matches or challenge carefully, because of course that's what everyone wants and that's why they're doing it. But the more and more people who come to participate, the less you're going to be able to cover. And similarly, on the nonprofit fees, we cover a lot of our nonprofit fees, but that is getting to not be sustainable. And so you might want to think about from the beginning not covering their fees if you're going to be doing it year after year. And just overall that there are significant communications efforts required both to the nonprofits participating and of course to your potential donors, and also the branding tied to your foundation. Tracy mentioned that they did this to build awareness of their foundation. In our case, it was before I was here, but our giving challenge was started before when we were considering a bunch of different things with our foundation. So we actually had no branding tied to us. And so that has been a continual challenge of making sure that our foundation is mentioned when we are the one putting all the investment into it, but it's now come up with this other name that actually has nothing to do with that. So that is one of our own challenges, which surely people would not be in that same situation starting from scratch. So this is just going to be a repeat of a lot of what Sarasota and Lancaster did, but we did have our local TV station did a PSA. We had Good Morning Texas, which is a Good Morning America, our local version, where we did a parade of nonprofits that was very, very successful. We had all sorts of PR, calendar listings, blogs. We had great media support. I think there were about 4.7 million impressions across our local media. But the best part of it was when the nonprofits would mention it in their own media. So their own newsletters, their own social media, and we gave them a toolkit at our kickoffs that were 3 or 4 months in advance, where similar to Tracy, where they had a digital toolkit where they could get the different graphic elements. We also had an on-site event, and so these are just some fun pictures from our on-site event where we had food trucks come out and had people come for lunch and nonprofit performances and families. We had giving stations where they could give we actually had a number of retirement communities that are talking about bringing buses this year as one of their excitements. The zoo came out and brought animals, the SPCA. We had arts performances, dancing in the lobby, and lots of good fun. It actually rained on our giving day, so that's another thing to keep in mind, is that you need both indoor and outdoor space. But we had a lot of fun at our on-site event, and that is the first time that we did that. And to Lancaster's point, you do need to keep the focus on your online event, but it is very nice to have the visuals of a live event. And I think that might be my last slide.
Great, thanks, Carol. And I will go ahead and start. We have 10 minutes left for Q&A. We've had quite a few come in already, but if the attendees want to continue to type their chats in on the window on the right, I will get them directed at the right person or to the group if it's a general question. First, Susie, this question is directed to you. Did the Community Foundation solicit businesses to participate and create a pool for matching with the nonprofits, or was that left to the nonprofits to find their own business partners, or how did those collaborations happen?
That's a good question. So the business partners that we had, which I really didn't touch on, were the media partners. So the local Herald Tribune Media Group donated about $30,000 worth of free media for us. Another business partner was the local Clear Channel station, and even though we purchased some media from them, they also gave us a lot of incredible media coverage in terms of their radio personalities talking about it for 3 days before the challenge. And they actually, the last 4 hours of the challenge, there were no commercials on any of the 5 local radio stations. It was all broadcast live from here, interspersed with some music. So, and in terms of the business partners that work directly with the organizations, it was really up to the organization. And we did 5 training sessions available to organizations before the challenge started. And we also gave the organizations a very high-level communications workshop called the Message House. And during both of those, we talked with the organizations about strategies to develop effective partnerships with local businesses based on whatever their goals were and whatever their mission and values were. So it was really up to the organization to do that. And we found in some cases nonprofits partnered with businesses they had a pre-existing relationship with, and in other cases they forged new relationships with businesses they had never worked with before. So it was really up to the nonprofit based on finding the right fit. And the examples of the incentives we did, those were just 3. We did many more, but I wanted to emphasize some of the partnerships because, again, as part of our challenge, we really wanted to emphasize the more than money approach. How can you build capacity? How can you work with others? And how can you elevate your own image and branding by working with others?
Great, thank you. Next question is how nonprofits were selected to participate. Carol, I think you already indicated that any 501c3 in the 16 counties was allowed to. Tracy, can you share with the group how you selected your group?
Yeah, again, we were also looking to create a big tent and have as much participation as possible. We kept our criteria fairly basic, but it was you had to be registered as a charitable organization. Organizations had to serve residents of Lancaster County, and that was something that was interesting for us because there were organizations in adjoining counties that might not be based in our county but do in fact serve constituents here, so that was a qualifying qualifier. And the last thing was that each organization had to have an independent financial audit or financial review. So, and that was something that was really a challenge for some smaller organizations in particular, but that's really basic due diligence for us, and it actually encouraged some organizations to move to that level. So it was real capacity building for organizations to come into that best practice where they did in fact invest in the financial review or audit. So they served Lancaster County, they had the audit, and they were registered with the Bureau of Charitable Organizations.
Great. And Susie, for your giving day?
So in Sarasota County, we have this amazing tool that's tied in with GuideStar called Donor Edge, and we call it the giving partner in our community. And so to participate in the Giving Challenge, you had to have a profile in Donor Edge. And this is very similar to the GuideStar Exchange profile. So in order to participate, you already have a very transparent operation where we can understand your governance, your programmatic impact, your 990s are posted there, but we also have the documents that the public sometimes really wants to see. Do you have that state solicitations permit? And do you have that official 501c3 letter from the IRS? But the state solicitations permit, I will tell you that you may want to pay attention to that. In the first year that we did the Giving Challenge, we didn't think much about it, and then we realized that we could actually get fined as the community foundation in our state if the nonprofit didn't have their state solicitations permit, because in effect we are soliciting for them on the online site. So you probably want to check into that if your state also has that requirement.
Also, actually, and I said that any nonprofit could participate, but they did also for Texas have to fill out a lengthy profile that took about 20 hours to complete with all of their similar information and uploads of their 990s, etc.
Great. And Carol, because we have quite a few questions, I'll just start directing them to people so we can try to get through more of them. So Carol, if you wouldn't mind, someone asked for community foundations that might have smaller dollars available. In your 5 years experience, do you think it would make more sense to do incentive prizes or to have more available for the actual matching dollars?
So what we've heard is that nonprofits want the match. However, what we're seeing is that we cannot keep up with the demand of the match. And so we are trying to move more towards the prizes and incentive grants. So I would recommend, if you're starting from scratch with not a large pool, that you would start with the prizes.
Great. And then this question, maybe Susie, you can answer this. It sounds like everyone met their challenge in helping individuals know more about the Community Foundation. Do you feel that hosting a Giving Day helps citizens better understand what you do, as in specifically build endowments? And have you yet to see any funds open up that you think are because of this event?
That's a really good question. You know what's tricky about the Giving Days? There's no question that it raises the visibility of the Community Foundation within the community. But I'll be honest, part of the danger is that we don't want people to think we're only about transactional giving. And so we found that there's lots of follow-up we want to do in our ad campaigns, connecting stories of people who have very strong intentionality around their giving, kind of as a follow-up to our Giving Challenge. But when people say in the community, oh yeah, you guys are the ones that did that Giving Challenge. So there's a lot more recognition, and I think as community foundations, we all kind of struggle with the community not knowing what it is that we do or not having heard of us. So this really, really raised the visibility of the Community Foundation within Sarasota and our surrounding counties, but I'm not sure that it raised any awareness about our permanent endowment building. It sounds like that's what the question was. So we still have work to do around that, but the first step is just the brand recognition, I think.
Great. And Tracy, Susie started to touch on this, but can you speak at all to follow-up you've done with development strategies or things you're aware of that the nonprofits have done for donor cultivation?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I'll reinforce what Susie said. Yeah, you want to be sure that you don't confuse the core mission of the Community Foundation with a Giving Day. But it does open doors again. It's the handshake for us. And so what it has done for us, although we know that the development cycle for actual, bequests or wills or fund opening is much longer than the time period that's just followed a Giving Day. But we have definitely seen an increase in inquiries, an increase in requests, an increase in even contacts from professional advisors. So we are seeing immediate impact there, and organizations themselves are starting to kind of plan their capacity and their thinking. I think the capacity to work online and work in the web realm is something else that's an additional benefit to the sector. by introducing an online giving mechanism to the community. So I think the benefits may be a little bit different than we might set out thinking.
Great. And to end, we only have a minute left, and I recognize we did not get through everyone's questions, but what I will do is I will get all the questions listed in a document together and get answers out to the whole group so you can see everyone's questions and see the responses so that everyone has access to that. The last question that I'll get to before the end of our hour together is if each of our panelists could give one piece of advice or address one hurdle or pitfall or something to avoid for a community foundation that is participating in their first Giving Day. And Susie, maybe I'll start with you, and we'll just have each of you answer that.
So I would definitely, my one piece of advice would be to work with your entire community foundation team, because there is a role, there's a very strong communications component, as I heard the others say. You really need your donor team to engage your own donors and communicate with them about what you're doing. The finance team has a very strong role to play. There's really a role for everyone, and making everyone on your team part of your social media ambassador team is really important. So find a role for everyone and make sure everyone knows what the game plan is and a way to get involved.
Thank you.
Tracy? Yeah, what I'll add to that is, and be sure that each element of your team, particularly finance and data, that they understand their role and opportunity on the kind of the follow-up end. There's a huge opportunity. The data comes flowing into your organization, into all of the participating nonprofits, donor data and information. Be sure that you have a way that you're prepared to integrate that into your database and your system, and a development plan moving forward, so that you're able to take advantage of those new contacts and be sure you're generating an immediate follow-up to those donors so that you can begin to build relationships.
Thanks. And Carol?
Yes, I would agree with both of those. Your whole team has to be involved, every single person at the foundation, including the front desk, of course. And it is a great opportunity to follow up with donors from the Giving Day, because we have seen that people are becoming more engaged with our overall foundation.
Thank you so much. So with that, it is 1 minute after 3. So you will all receive a follow-up email from me. I will include these slides so that you have access to some of the great information that was shared in this. And I will also work together, all the questions together and some answers for you guys so you can continue to think about this opportunity. I would like to thank the panelists so much for sharing all this great information with the group. I hope you have all learned a lot and heard their ideas and have some things to think about with in your own community foundation. So with that, thank you all for joining and have a great day.
Thanks for having us.